That constant ache of empathy, the one that makes you feel the world's suffering as your own. What if it is not a weakness to be shielded, but the sign of your true mission? You have been taught to protect your energy like a finite resource. Today, you will discover how to become an infinite source. The secret to a permanent high vibration is not found in holding your light, but in becoming a conduit for it. The ancient bodhisattvas knew this secret. It is a sacred paradox that transforms your entire being from a fragile battery into an unstoppable force for planetary healing. You know this feeling intimately. You wake with the dawn, you meditate, you fill your journal with words of gratitude. You cultivate a fragile peace, a sense of clarity, a feeling you call high vibration. You walk into your day feeling centered, aligned, ready. And then it happens. A single email, a headline on the news, an unconscious remark from a loved one. Suddenly the floor gives way. The peace evaporates, replaced by the familiar static of anxiety or frustration. The energy you work so hard to build seems to drain away, and by day's end, you are left wondering, why is this so hard? Why does my inner peace feel so conditional? If you have felt this, know that you are not failing. You are simply pushing against the invisible limits of a paradigm that was never meant to be sustainable. You have reached what we can call the spiritual glass ceiling. It is the point where personal spiritual practice, when focused solely on cultivating an inner state for oneself, reaches its natural boundary. It is the realization that no matter how high you build the walls of your inner sanctuary, the echoes of the world will always find their way in. This frustration is not a sign of your weakness. It is the sacred invitation to a much deeper truth about the nature of energy itself. Modern psychology gives us a name for one of the bars in this cage: hedonic adaptation. It refers to our remarkable and sometimes frustrating human tendency to quickly return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative life events. It is the mind's internal thermostat. You may experience a surge of joy, a peak of vibrational bliss, but your neurology is designed to eventually recalibrate to its baseline. To chase a feeling, even a noble one, is to be on a treadmill. The pursuit of a high vibration for its own sake becomes an exhausting effort of constantly seeking a new stimulus to feel the same level of peace. And here we uncover a profound truth, one whispered in the quiet moments after the peak experience fades. The soul does not seek a permanent state of pleasure. It seeks a permanent sense of purpose. This is not a new idea. The great psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl built his entire life's work on this very discovery. From the darkest depths of human suffering, he observed a truth that has the power to shatter our spiritual glass ceiling. He saw that the defining drive of human existence is not the pursuit of happiness, but the will to find meaning. His entire school of thought, logotherapy, is built on the premise that we are healed and made whole by discovering a purpose worthy of our lives and often worthy of our suffering. Frankl discovered that this meaning is almost never found by looking inward. It is found in what he called self-transcendence. It is found by dedicating ourselves to a cause greater than ourselves, or to another person. It is in the act of giving, of serving, of connecting, that our own lives become filled with a substance far more resilient than a fleeting emotion. A high vibration becomes the result of a meaningful life, not the goal of it. The glass ceiling exists because our psychological wiring prevents us from finding lasting fulfillment in self-focused states. And our spiritual wiring demands we look beyond ourselves to find what truly lasts. So that feeling of frustration, of hitting a limit, it is a sign of your spiritual maturity. It is the soul's signal that you have outgrown the first stage of the journey. You are ready to stop trying to perfect the contents of your own cup, and instead, to let your cup overflow. But what if this ceiling is not a limit, but a doorway? A doorway leading out of the small stagnant pool of self and into the great flowing river of service. For so long, we have been taught to treat our spiritual energy like a precious reservoir. We are told to fill it each morning with practice, and then to build high walls around it. We call these walls shielding, or energetic protection. We live in a state of constant low-grade anxiety about the water level. We fear the demands of others, seeing them as potential cracks in our dam. We feel drained by the world because we believe our supply is finite, and that every act of compassion is a withdrawal that leaves us with less. We guard our inner peace like a miser guards his gold. But what if this entire model is based on a fundamental illusion? What if you are not a reservoir to be guarded, but a river meant to flow? Consider this shift. A reservoir is a static thing. It is defined by what it holds, what it keeps in. A river, however, is a dynamic being. It is defined by its movement, by what it gives away. A river has no fear of becoming empty because it is not a container of energy. It is a conduit for it. Its power is drawn from a source so much greater than itself, the eternal snows melting on the high mountains, the sky that offers endless rain. The purpose of a river is not to be full, but to flow. And in its flowing, it effortlessly nourishes every valley, every forest, every life that it touches. It does not do this through strain or effort. It does this by being what it is. The ancient sages, the mystics of traditions across the globe, had a name for this inexhaustible source. They called it the anima mundi, the world soul. They did not see the earth as a dead rock upon which life randomly appeared. They saw it as a single, breathing, conscious intelligence. To become a river is to connect your personal stream of consciousness to this planetary lifeblood. You cease to be a small, isolated pool, and you become an expression of the living, breathing soul of the world itself. The energy that flows through you is no longer just your energy. It is the vitality of Gaia passing through the channel of your being. And while this may sound like ancient poetry, our most advanced science is beginning to describe the very same reality, just in a different language. Physicists speak of quantum entanglement, a phenomenon they call spooky action at a distance. It describes how two particles, once connected, can remain instantaneously linked across any distance in the universe. A change in one is instantly reflected in the other. This points to a deep, hidden layer of reality where separation is an illusion, where everything is fundamentally, mysteriously interconnected. If the very fabric of our universe is woven with this thread of unbreakable unity, then the idea of a shared consciousness, a single source, a great river of life that we can all tap into, is not a mystical fantasy. It is the most logical conclusion. So if we are designed to be great rivers, not guarded reservoirs, what ancient vow dynamites the dam and unleashes the flow? The answer lies in a sacred choice. Let us speak of the choice that makes this great shift possible. The choice that dynamites the dam. In the Mahayana traditions of the East, it is known as the path of the Bodhisattva. This word, it is not the name of a distant god or an enlightened being you must worship from afar. It is a path, a choice, a direction for the soul. A bodhisattva is any being who stands at the ultimate threshold of peace. They have done the work, they have walked the path, and they have arrived at the gateless gate of final liberation, of nirvana. The reservoir is full to the brim, and right there, at the precipice of eternal bliss, they make the most radical choice imaginable. They turn back. They turn back from the gate, not out of fear or attachment, but out of an overwhelming, heart-shattering compassion. They make a silent, sacred vow. I will not enter final peace until every last being, down to the last blade of grass, is free from suffering. There is a beautiful story of the Bodhisattva Kuan Yin, who had achieved this very state. As she stood ready to dissolve into the great cosmic ocean, she heard a sound rising from the world she was leaving behind. It was not one voice, but all voices crying out at once. It was the single unified sound of suffering. And in that moment her compassion was so immense, so absolute, that she turned back, vowing to remain and listen, to help until every one of those cries had been answered. She chose to become a river of compassion back into the world, rather than a single drop of water returned to the ocean. And if this concept feels foreign, know that this same archetype echoes through the halls of every great tradition, a truth the human heart has always recognized. The ancient Greeks spoke of the wounded healer, the centaur Chiron. He was an immortal who suffered from an incurable wound, and because he could not heal himself, he dedicated his eternal life to teaching others the arts of healing. His own wound became the source of his greatest gift to the world. He did not hoard his knowledge to solve his own pain. He let it flow outward to soothe the pain of others. We see it again in the myth of Prometheus, who saw humanity shivering in the cold darkness of ignorance. He stole fire, the fire of consciousness, of spirit from the gods, and brought it down to earth, knowing he would face eternal punishment for his act of compassion. He chose to suffer so that others could find the light. And this impulse is not just the stuff of myth. It is written into the very code of the human spirit. In psychology, there is a phenomenon known as post-traumatic growth. It has been observed that many individuals who endure great tragedy, deep loss, or profound suffering do not just heal back to who they were before, they grow beyond it. They emerge from the fire with a deeper empathy, a clearer sense of purpose, and a profound desire to alleviate the suffering they now understand so intimately. Have you ever felt this? That your own deepest wounds have given you the unique ability to understand and help others with theirs? What is this, if not the human psyche discovering the Bodhisattva impulse written within its own code? This vow seems like an impossible burden. How can one being possibly take on the suffering of the world without being crushed? The secret isn't in what you carry, but in the cosmic current you join. The reason this vow does not crush you is because it is not a promise to carry the world's suffering in your own finite reservoir. It is a declaration that you are no longer a reservoir at all. It is a fundamental rewiring of your energetic physics. By making this choice, you consciously transition from being a closed circuit, endlessly trying to generate and store your own light, to becoming an open channel for a light that is not yours to begin with. The joy, the peace, the permanent high vibration you have been seeking is not the goal of this path. It is the byproduct. It is the natural feeling of an infinite current moving through you. Imagine the feeling of a great river flowing through its banks. That is the feeling of unshakable peace. The warmth you feel is the friction of the cosmos moving through the vessel of your being. You stop trying to be happy, and you simply become a conduit for a universal compassion from which a deep and resilient joy naturally arises. You stop carrying the weight of the world, and instead you allow the strength of the universe to flow through you, into the world. And here is the most beautiful part. You are not the first to make this choice. You are not carving a new riverbed through a barren desert alone. The mystics and the sages speak of the ascended masters, not as distant deities on golden thrones, but as the great rivers who have already traced their course to the sea of consciousness. They are the ones who first dynamited the dams of selfhood and created powerful, flowing currents of compassion through the ages. When you make the Bodhisattva vow, you are a tributary choosing to merge with one of these great ancient rivers. You are aligning your personal stream of intention with a vast collective river of consciousness, a field of shared purpose that has been flowing for millennia. The momentum is already there. The path has already been carved. You do not have to forge the way. You simply have to choose to join the flow. Your personal effort is amplified 1,000-fold by the current you have just joined. The loneliness of the spiritual path dissolves in the recognition that you have just entered a timeless lineage of service. As the ancient Stoics would remind us, this is the most natural and logical action in the universe. They had a word for this reality, sympathia. It is the understanding that the entire cosmos is a single, unified living being. Everything is interconnected. A star cannot fall without a ripple being felt across the galaxy. In this view, to harm another is to harm yourself, and to heal another is to heal a part of your own larger being. Service is not an act of charity performed upon a separate other. It is an act of returning to wholeness. It is the river tending to its own banks, knowing that the banks are what give it shape, purpose, and direction. If a single vow can align you with this timeless current, what happens when many rivers begin to flow in the same direction? The observable effects on our physical world are staggering. This joining of a great cosmic river may sound like beautiful spiritual poetry, but what if we could see its reflection in our material world? What if the effects of this unified consciousness could actually be measured? In a series of studies beginning in the 1970s, researchers observed a striking phenomenon that came to be known as the Maharishi effect. The premise was simple, yet profound. A group of people would gather and meditate together, trained to achieve a deep state of inner peace and coherence. And when the number of these meditators reached a certain critical threshold, the square root of 1% of the local population, researchers observed a startling correlation. In the surrounding cities, violent crime rates, traffic accidents, and other indicators of social stress would measurably decrease. Now, while these studies have been debated in mainstream circles, the data consistently pointed toward a fascinating possibility that a field of human consciousness, when made coherent, could ripple outward and create a calming, ordering effect on the surrounding environment. It suggested that our inner state of peace is not a private experience. It is a broadcast. It is a silent frequency that others can tune into, whether they are aware of it or not. Decades later, another, even more curious experiment began to unfold. Scientists at Princeton University started the Global Consciousness Project. They placed a network of highly sensitive machines, called random number generators, all around the world. These devices are essentially electronic coin flippers designed to produce a stream of perfectly unpredictable random data. And under normal circumstances they do. But the researchers began to notice strange anomalies. During moments of massive shared global attention events that focused the hearts and minds of millions of people at once, like the 9/11 attacks, a royal wedding, or a global meditation event, these machines would suddenly stop behaving randomly. Their output would become strangely ordered, as if they were responding to the unified wave of human emotion and attention. It is as if the collective emotional field of humanity could subtly influence the behavior of sensitive electronic circuits. Think of the implication. Our inner, subjective experience of unity appears to have a small but measurable, objective effect on the physical world. Our consciousness is not a ghost in the machine. It is a fundamental force that seems to interact with the fabric of reality itself. And here, as our modern science peers over the edge of a great mystery, we hear the faint echo of a truth our ancestors knew intuitively for millennia. What if these modern experiments are simply rediscovering this great living system? The ancient cultures of the world spoke of it. They called them ley lines, dragon lines, the song lines of the earth. They perceived our planet not as an inert sphere, but as a living body with its own nervous system, its own energetic circulatory system. And they built their most sacred sites, their temples, their pyramids, their stone circles, at the powerful intersections of these lines, the great acupuncture points on the body of Gaia. They knew that what happened at these sacred nodes could ripple out and affect the entire web of life. Our science is not proving our ancestors right. It is perhaps finally building the instruments sensitive enough to perceive the world they always knew existed. These projects may be the first time we have measured our own influence upon this living planetary grid. If our collective mind can influence statistics and machines from afar, what does it mean to consciously place your own body, your own energy, directly upon a node of this planetary grid? The answer to that question is the great revelation of this entire path. It is the moment the abstract becomes real, the spiritual becomes physical. The great secret is that your mission is not something you do out there. It is something you become in here. The mission is, and has always been, about embodiment. Your body is the instrument. Your very presence is the point of alchemy. Let us introduce a new metaphor, a more precise one for this stage of understanding. You are not just a river of light. You are a living tuning fork. Think of what a tuning fork does. It is a simple, humble instrument. It does not create a symphony. It does not struggle or strive. It is designed to do one thing with absolute perfection, to hold a single, pure, coherent frequency. When you strike a tuning fork, it vibrates and it sings its note. And through a principle known as sympathetic resonance, its vibration travels through the air, and any other object nearby that is capable of vibrating at that same frequency will begin to do so without ever being touched. It is awakened by the clarity of the first signal. This is the true nature of your mission. When you align yourself with the great river of compassion, when you make that silent, sacred Bodhisattva vow, your own energetic system begins to change. Your heart's electromagnetic field, which is thousands of times more powerful than the brain's, shifts into a state of coherence. Your nervous system, which was once wired for the chaotic static of survival, retunes itself to the calm, steady rhythm of the source. You stop broadcasting the discordant frequencies of fear, lack, and separation, and you begin effortlessly to sing the clear, pure note of unconditional love. Your body becomes the tuning fork. This is what we call embodied stewardship. It is a profound shift in identity. Embodied, because this is not a mental exercise. It is a physiological reality that happens in your cells, in your heart, in your very bones. And stewardship, because you are not a warrior fighting a battle. You are a caretaker, a guardian, a steward of a sacred frequency. Your purpose is not to go out and fight the darkness. That is the way of the reservoir, the way that leads to burnout and despair. Your purpose is not to absorb the pain of the world like a sponge. That is a misunderstanding of empathy. Your true sacred function is simply to hold your note, to be the tuning fork right here, right now, in your own small corner of the world. Through the law of sympathetic resonance, your coherence silently calls forth the coherence in others. Your peace awakens the potential for peace in your family, your workplace, your community. You do not have to preach. You do not have to fix anyone. Your presence becomes your service. Your frequency becomes your offering. This is the great relief. This is the end of the burden for every empath, for every light worker who has felt crushed by the weight of the world. You were never meant to carry it. You were meant to retune it, simply by being the clearest, most authentic expression of your own divine note. This is how you become a point of acupuncture for Gaia. You are the anchor of light, and the stability you cultivate within becomes the stability you offer to the entire planetary grid. And so we bring this great cosmic principle into a simple daily practice. For a truth remains a mere concept until it is lived, until it is felt in the body. I invite you now, not just to understand this, but to experience it. This is a 5-minute ritual to anchor yourself as the river of light. You can do this seated, with your spine comfortably straight and your feet on the floor. Let us begin. Close your eyes and take a single, slow, deep breath. For this first minute, we connect to the source. I want you to bring your awareness to the very top of your head, and I want you to imagine, high above you, the vast, silent peaks of the mountains of consciousness. See the starlight and the sunlight shining down upon them. Feel the cosmic rain, the pure waters of potential, falling gently. This is your source. With your next breath in, feel that cool, clear, life-giving water. The wisdom of the ancients, the love of the source, beginning to gather at the crown of your head, forming the headwaters of your river. This is not your energy. You are receiving it. Now, for the next 2 minutes, we become the river body. Feel that energy begin to flow downward, not into you, but through you. Your body is the riverbed, shaped perfectly to guide this sacred current. Feel the cool stream of light flowing down your spine, the main channel of your river. Feel it branch off into your shoulders, down your arms, and out through your fingertips. Feel it flowing down into your hips, through your legs, and out through the soles of your feet. Your body does not contain this river. It gives it direction. It gives it expression. This is embodiment. You are not holding the light. You are the path that the light takes to reach the world. Feel the steady, peaceful, powerful current moving through you. Now bring your hands to your heart. For the next 30 seconds, we make the river's vow. Breathing into this space in the center of your chest, silently affirm these words, not as a thought, but as a deep, resonant feeling. I am a river of service. My nature is to flow. My peace is my gift. May all beings in my path be nourished. Feel the truth of this intention vibrate in your heart, aligning every cell of your being with this sacred purpose. And finally, for this last minute and a half, we arrive at the delta. Visualize your river flowing out from you and moving out into the world. See it meeting the great shimmering ocean of humanity. This is not a loss of energy. It is a contribution. See the pure water of your being merging with this collective ocean, offering its unique note of clarity and peace. Your river does not end here. It transforms. It becomes part of the whole. There is no depletion. There is no exhaustion. There is only the ceaseless, joyful, natural cycle of giving and receiving, of flow and return. Take one final deep breath, and when you are ready, gently open your eyes. We started this journey as a guarded reservoir, fearing we would run dry. We end it as an infinite river, knowing our very nature is to flow. We began feeling the spiritual path was a solitary struggle to protect a fragile flame from the winds of the world. We end it knowing we are the lighthouse, unshakable in the storm, anchored in a purpose so much larger than our personal peace. You are not a drop of water in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. The great sage of the Bodhisattva Path, Shantideva, left us with a vow that has echoed through the centuries, a perfect expression of the river's heart. He wrote, "As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world." This is not a burden he took on. It was the declaration of his truest nature. And so the final question is not for your mind, but for your soul. A river does not choose which parts of the land to nourish. It does not judge the thirsty soil or the barren rock. It simply flows. Where in your life can your river bring life today, without judgment or effort? If you are ready to let your river flow, declare it. Not to me, but to the universe, to your own highest self. Declare your intention in the comments by writing, "I am the river." Let it be your vow. Every declaration carves the path for others to follow, strengthening the great collective current that is healing our world.